Once more, Ruby Walsh riding, and can this Grade 1 champion hurdle winner complete this Grade 1 double at Aintree?
So let's set this race up then. You've had a good look at some of them in the parade ring. Let's set it up. It is, of course, a Grade 1 over 2.5 miles. The Aintree hurdle, 11 hurdles to jump. Top one's Camping Ground, Leighton Aspel. 2, Court Minstrel, Paul Maloney. 3, My Tent Are Yours, Barry Garrity. 4, Nichols Canyon, Paul Townend. 5, the new one, Sam Twiston Davis. And 6, Annie Power, Ruby Walsh rides. Annie Power 4 to 9, 11 to 2, Nichols Canyon. My Tent Are Yours, 10 to 1. Same price for the new one. Camping Ground 20s. Court Minstrel is 100 to 1.
Yeah, punters are really starting to get confident now. Either that or the firms are bailing out early of any liabilities that they had building up after Q Card's victory, because Annie Power was 4 to 7 last night when I was doing Kempton. I said on the TV it should be a 9 to 2 on chance, based on the fact that all she's got to do is repeat what she did at Cheltenham over a trip that is possibly what was regarded as more favourable to her. The bookmakers were holding out. She's now 4 to 9 in the odd place, but 2 to 5, and a few bookmakers trying to make a 4 to 11. So it's absolutely one-way traffic. It's taken a couple of races before the pennies dropped, but 1 to 2 was a value price for those of you who like the short ones, and I doubt very much whether you're going to see that again. Nichols Canyon has emerged as the clear favourite. The new one, Friendless, and My Tent Are Yours, people possibly thinking that one might bounce after a good run after the long absence. But really, it's all about whether this Annie Power goes in or not. 2 to 5 general price, the odd bid of 9 to 4 on around.
So, Annie Power then, while connections were humming and hawing over whether or not that they were going to go for the champion hurdle, and thank goodness they did, Willie Mullins did repeatedly say that really the Aintree hurdle is her race, that 2.5 miles would be ideal for her. And there's her stable companion Nichols Canyon, who of course is proven over this course and distance. He won the Grade 1 Mersey Novices event this time last year, and he should run well, you would have thought. He surely is the biggest threat to his stable companion.
Yeah, I think so. He's also a horse that is better suited, I think, to 2.5 miles than 2. I know he's been campaigned at 2 miles this season, but it always looks like a horse who'd be better over 2.5 miles than 2 miles over hurdles.
The question mark about the distance is one for Nicky Henderson, because he's got My Tent Or Yours, who was such a brilliant second after 703 days off in the champion hurdle last time we saw him. Is he equal to 2.5 miles? Let's find out from him himself.
Yeah, indeed, it was a brilliant effort to finish second in the champion hurdle. You must have been thrilled with him on the day.
It was a great comeback, it was, but yeah, he travelled well, and he settled well for under the circumstances, and yeah, it was a good try anyway. I mean, sure, you think he'd come on, but do they?
The thing is today, 2.5 miles, he's got to settle, Nicky, hasn't he, really?
That's going to be the crux of it. I think we'll know plenty after a couple of hurdles here, to be honest with you, because you're going to have to even go a bit steadier today. That's hard work in the ground now, isn't it? I think they've all said the hurdle course is slow. That's hardly in our favour, but again, you know, he's got to switch off. He was good in Cheltenham, but he really does have to do this completely different. They're going to go steadier, and he's got to get further. I mean, I don't think the trip wouldn't be a worry. It's the ground would be my biggest concern at the moment.
I mean, will Barry just settle him where he can?
I don't know, we've talked about it. He'll ride it. I mean, yes, he will, but I mean, we're not exactly going to hassle. I mean, you know, you can see Ruby's going to probably dictate this. I don't know. He can't hear me from here, so I'm not divulging any secrets. But yeah, we're hardly going to take him on we're not going to be hassling him. And you know, he'll be able to dictate it from where he is. But we've just got to get to sleep first.
Yeah, we'll be watching closely. Very best of luck, Nicky. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we break off from hearing from Nicky Henderson and we join the parade for this Grade 1 Dunbar Aintree hurdle, and there is Nichols Canyon, who won over the course and distance in the Mersey hurdle of Grade 1 this time last year, and ran right up to his best when third in the champion hurdle last time we saw him. There is the new one, who has been second to Zarkandar in this in 2013 and beat Rock on Ruby in 2014, and he ran his best race of the season when finishing fourth in the champion hurdle, albeit beaten 8 3/4 lengths by Annie Power. And there is Annie Power, and what a great day it was to see her taking on the males and win the champion hurdle rather than sticking with her own gender. They went for the big one and it very much paid off. She was quite brilliant that day, jumping really well, and she beat My Ten to Yours by 4.5 imperious lengths, and as she's stepping back up in trip, a trip over which she is proven, and relatively speaking she's probably quite a fresh horse as well.
Yeah, she is, and the question mark that many people had against her going into the champion hurdle was, would she have the pace for the trip? It wasn't a problem for her at all, but she's got plenty of form at this kind of distance. That's what her best has been over in the past. She'll handle conditions absolutely fine, and she's the one to beat. It'll be interesting to see what pans out tactically between her and Nichols Canyon.
Yeah, what do you think?
No idea.
Because I quite like Nichols Canyon when he's ridden forward. I think that leading or pressing, but particularly leading, suits him.
Yeah, I think it probably does. That said, they're not going to go too good. They're not going to cut each other's throats,
Of course not.
and they might just sit together, and I would imagine one will take a slight lead off the other, and they'll make sure that it's an even enough race, and they won't want it to turn into necessarily a dash, because that would, given that the third horse in the betting is a suspect stayer and might well bounce coming out of the festival. But it will be interesting to see how it pans out. I'm not quite sure what will happen. I think Annie Power is the one that is most likely to lead, but I'd agree with you and say that in an ideal world Nichols Canyon wants to employ front running tactics as well.
And I think a little bit of rain is also in his favour.
Nichols Canyon. Yeah, I think that's probably right as well. To me, he's looked like a horse who isn't quite quick enough for 2 miles on decent ground, and 2.5 with a bit of give underfoot is probably what he wants, really. But it won't be an inconvenience to Annie Power either. I do expect that he will probably run a career best this afternoon, but whether that'll be enough to beat Annie Power, I doubt.
Now, how about the new one, stepping back up in trip? He's won this race before, of course, as I mentioned, beating Rock on Ruby, and he was second to Zarkandar in it as well, but trying to take on Annie Power and even Nichols Canyon in it is a different order, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a tougher race than what it has been, and he's got a turnaround form from the festival in the champion hurdle with the pair of them. You can argue that he's nowadays better suited by this kind of trip as well himself, but I don't think that he's a horse who's going to be able to bridge the gap from last time out, really. His jumping's a little bit of a worry nowadays as well.
Going right to his right.
Yeah, he just tends to throw in a few mistakes, jump that way, he can be inclined to hang that way a little bit as well, so be lukewarm on him, really.
And you mentioned the bounce factor about My Ten to Yours, which is a relevant one, not just the trip as well. 703-day absence prior to the second in the champion hurdle, which was a monster run, and that tends to be the thinking behind the nebulous bounce factor, is quick reappearance after that. Will you actually take a step back rather than forward, or even, keep to the same level of form?
Yeah, and interesting that Nicky Henderson opted to not give him a prep run for the champion because of the fear of a potential bounce in the champion.
So they're coming forward for the main event on the Mildmay course. It's the Dunbar Aintree hurdle. Let's join Mark.
Walking forward now, still about 100 yards or so behind the starting tape at the moment, but the flag is aloft as they just make their move around the hurdle, which they don't jump on this circuit. Four of them walking together in towards the tapes, and they're off for the Grade 1 Dunbar Aintree hurdle of 2016 and Nichols Canyon, and on the wide outside the new one with the first to break the line, with Annie Power right there on the inside, followed by Camping Ground, and then My Ten to Yours, and held up Court Minstrel last of the six as they went over the first flight of hurdles. My Ten to Yours is taking a keen grip, as is his wont, anchored towards the rear of the field as they go towards flight number 2. And Nichols Canyon and Paul Townend will have the lead lead as they cross over the second flight. He guessed at it there. He stood a long way off it, Nichols Canyon, and also just jumped out a little bit away to his right over that flight. But he just took off a little before Paul Townend would have wanted him to, and he had to reach. But he's out in front safely, and he leads stablemate Annie Power in a 1-2 for Willie Mullins down the side of the course for the first time. The winner back in 2014, the new one is racing in third, and Camping Ground is in fourth, and then My Tent or Yours, and still the back marker is Court Minstrel, as they have a long run now before the third flight taken in the home straight. And it's Nichols Canyon, the third in the champion hurdle, who leads the way to the reigning champion Annie Power, bidding to emulate Dawn Run back in 1984 as the only mare who has done the double in the champion hurdle and the Aintree hurdle in the same season. Back in third is the new one, followed by Camping Ground and My Tent or Yours, who still strains the reins, and Court Minstrel still observes as once again Nichols Canyon, as he did at flight number 2, jumps out away to the right over that flight, more markedly on that occasion. Annie Power and Ruby Walsh sticking clear of trouble on that one's inside as they go over flight number 4. Nichols Canyon ridden into it but jumps it well to Annie Power in second. The new one is in third, and My Tent or Yours, followed by Camping Ground, and finally the rank outside of Court Minstrel, and they come towards the flight which were the last in a circuit's time. Nichols Canyon jumped that one big, and down is the new one. The new one has fallen. He was in fourth position when he came down at flight number 5. Quickly he and rider Sam Twiston-Davies are up on their feet. They appear unscathed, so now they have a circuit to go in the 40th running of the Dunbar Aintree hurdle, and Annie Power has now picked up the gauntlet, and she will go on, and she now leads by a length and a half to stablemate Nichols Canyon in second. A half length away on the inside, My Tent or Yours is now in third. 2 lengths away, Camping Ground, and a further 3 lengths back to Court Minstrel. Along the side of the course, going towards the back straight. One more flight before they complete their first circuit, and Annie Power, bidding to give jockey Ruby Walsh his 5th win in this contest, leads to in second Nichols Canyon, and then a length and a half away to the keen My Tent or Yours. 2 further lengths to Camping Ground, and Court Minstrel's now getting tapped for toe. Annie Power really reached for that flight of the hurdles, and she clear by a length to in second Nichols Canyon, and in third My Tent or Yours, who just landed a little flat-footed over that flight, as they go now through their starting point and on now towards flight number 7 of the 11. Nichols Canyon comes to on the outside of Annie Power, who was quick, economical over that flight, as they go now towards the 4th from home. And it's still Annie Power. Ruby Walsh out in front. My Tent or Yours and Barry Geraghty have now come through to take second as they go over the last one down the back. And once again, Annie Power was just simply pinpoint accurate. A long run now before the third last. Annie Power leads the way to Nichols Canyon, trying to rally around the outside of My Tent or Yours. The first 3 in the champion hurdle, the first 3 at this point in the 40th running of the Dunbar Aintree hurdle, and it is the champion Annie Power in hand on the inside of a nudged along Nichols Canyon. Between them, My Tent or Yours, bidding to give Barry Geraghty and Nicky Henderson a 3rd win in this race. Court Minstrel has taken a distant 4th. Camping Ground has now backed away to 5th as the field turn for home, and Annie Power is still simply in 2nd gear, cruising along. My Tent or Yours only a length to find, however. Niggled towards the outside Nichols Canyon. They set their sights on 3 out. Annie Power rises with a lead of just over a length. Still a statuesque, a motionless Ruby Walsh. In second now, driven along My Tent or Yours towards the near side Nichols Canyon. The second last for Annie Power saw a beautiful stride. She's clear by 3 and yet to be asked. In second My Tent or Yours. Nichols Canyon now waves goodbye to the leaders. Back in 4th place is Court Minstrel, but it is Annie Power who comes down towards the final flight, and again she's over safely, and that lead is extended now to 8 lengths over a floundering My Tent or Yours, a labouring Nichols Canyon. The rest don't simply count, and it's the Queen of Aintree today, Annie Power, for her 12th win over hurdles, her 5th Group 1 win over hurdles, her 5th win in the race for Ruby Walsh. Annie Power, simply the best over hurdles this season. Annie Power takes the Dunbar Aintree hurdle and beat pointless My Tent or Yours, Nichols Canyon and Court Minstrel.
Simply brilliant from Annie Power, absolutely brilliant. Unbeaten this season, and beaten bar for the fall of course, the famous fall, but this was quite brilliant stuff from her in the Dunbar Aintree hurdle. She wins for Ruby Walsh and Willie Mullins. It's a race he's described as not being the luckiest for him in the past, but here he has got an emphatic winner, a brilliant winner, and she's followed up her superb champion hurdle success. Let's hear from the winning trainer, Willie Mullins.
Let's hear from Rich Ritchie instead. And wasn't she awesome there?
I haven't seen it yet.
I saw you had your back to the screen.
I watched it over the last.
Yeah.
I listened to it. They told me she'd improved from Cheltenham, and I hadn't seen her work since. But crikey, she's just a great mare down.
Well, when you watch it in its entirety tonight, you're in for a treat.
Brilliant. We watched it on Racing UK.
Yeah.
But she was she jumped really well. Her jumping's improved, hasn't it, this season, for whatever reason. And this is probably the right trip for her. And we probably should have run on this 2 years ago when we ran her in the World Hurdle. But she's a great mare down. She's brilliant.
And she just seems to be getting better and better. And she's so many gears, hasn't she, Rich?
She does. I mean, she's very quick. She's not a youngster, you know. She's 8, but lightly raced. And if you had told me she'd improved from Cheltenham, I wouldn't have believed you. But she did, I think. I think she looked better today. She looked better in her coat, I thought. And that's just a wonderful performance. And our first winner here at Aintree, which is great.
Yeah, which is a milestone victory. But for so long, she's been the apple of your eye.
Oh, big time. No tears today. But she, maybe 1 or 2. But she's a privileged down.
I would imagine you're going in for a treat tonight when you watch it on Racing UK, of course.
Of course. Thanks, Tom, very much.
Done.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
What a way to break your Aintree duck as well, with quite brilliant performance from Annie Power. Really deft, agile jumping. But at this point she is travelling really well, but so is My Tent or Yours, before we get to the point where the stamina question is asked of him for the first time.
Yeah, and he finishes very tired. I think he was beaten before his stamina ebbed away, in fairness, and he was just beaten by a better horse than there, but the margin is exaggerated by him being a beaten horse that was getting tired, and he had the rest of them cooked. So she's cruised clear and won that very easily. Again, a really classy display from as good a mare as you'll see. She really is exceptional, and she took the lead from Nichols Canyon, who was the one who went on early, settled nicely in behind him, and just too good for them.
We're hearing that the new one and Sam Twiston-Davies are both okay, which is good and important news after that early fall. Now there's that jumping out to the right that Nichols Canyon has exhibited before, and that has possibly contributed to a slightly duller performance from him.
Yeah, he's not run his race. I thought beforehand that he might well be able to run a career best today, back up in trip, but maybe he's going to be better going the other way around. He was constantly out to his right at pretty much every flight of hurdles, and that's certainly not helped his cause, and he's run below form. It left My Tent or Yours really with a good opportunity to go and fill second spot, but he gets very tired, makes a mistake at the last, and he doesn't appear to fully see it out, does he? He's getting fairly tired, but he had second booked by then. As it was, Annie Power is striding away, and really authoritative from her.
Yeah, she really is. I'll come back to the subject of Annie Power and what we can expect from her in terms of campaign next season, but we need to take a look at that fall from the new one. It came before the race had really developed. He'd already started jumping out to his right, possibly not helped also by Nichols Canyon being the one ahead of him who was also jumping out to his right, but he just puts his foot through the hurdle there and takes quite a nasty looking fall. It's good to hear that both he and Sam are okay.
Yeah, hopefully he gets back home all right, and this doesn't knock his confidence too much. His jumping has been a little bit of an issue for a while now, and it's proved his undoing today.
They've got quite a serious bit of thinking to do with the new one about where they go with him now.
Yeah, he's only 8 years of age. He seems to have been around for ages, doesn't he? But it is a difficult one. I would imagine that they'll do a similar thing to what they've done, pick up a couple of soft ones earlier on in the year before plundering those later targets, but he'll continue to pay his way in some of those races that he's won for the last couple of years.
And there's a really warm reception here to Annie Power. There was a spontaneous round of applause that broke out around the winner's enclosure as she crossed the line. But she's getting another warm reception here. I think you can hear it in the background in the winner's enclosure. The Aintree crowd here really appreciating another classy performance from Annie Power. Ruby Walsh riding for Willie Mullins, and a first Aintree success for Rich Ritchie.
Well, what an amazing mare she is. Fantastic performance from Annie Power. She bolted up Officially, she's won by 18 lengths. Ruby Walsh not moving a muscle. 4-9 favourite. Be My Tent or Yours, very tired in second at 9-1.
So let's take it from the start, and we can enjoy this performance from Annie Power one more time. We were asking each other who we thought might take on the duties of leading in the race, and in the end they did decide that it would be Paul Townend and Nichols Canyon who'd go towards the 4. The new one in the early stages quite prominent as well, and Annie Power very content because she's so straightforward.